Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy. On the fire danger chart today, moisture, clouds, cooler temperatures, reducing it back here over the central and off to the northwest areas where rainfall occurred today, but still pretty dry and not much in the way of any precipitation falling over to the east. So still got some extreme fire danger in those areas, and also out over the Yukon Delta, some areas of extreme fire danger as well. And some rain moved across Bristol Bay last night, so that area got reduced a little bit as well. And from there, going on to the satellite imagery, you can see that band of moisture right through the central interior, mostly streaming off to the northwest, some of that shearing off to the east there, and looks like a little bit of convection trying to get going in this area, but another mostly sunny day over on the east side there on into the Yukon. And again, cooler temperatures as colder air came down from the northeast yesterday, continuing last night, and to a certain extent today. And then to the south, we've got bands of moisture, surges of moisture coming northward there, sliding into the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, another one right through here, and then yet another band there just south of Kodiak Island. Otherwise, less in the way of any moisture here over the eastern Gulf of Alaska, and then some clouds over the Panhandle today. Lots of clouds out over the Bering Sea, with most of the clouds down to the south. Look like a little bit of clearing possible up here, although there are some areas of lower clouds over the northern Bering, and then back into just socked in moisture there, socked in cloudiness for the Chukchi Sea and the west side of the Arctic coast there, and then better conditions back out to the west of the Aleutians. And on the chart, or on the satellite imagery again for today now, we've got again some cooler air coming down, so drier conditions here on the back edge of that cloud shield, with sunshine up to the north there, all the way out to the Arctic coast. Pretty clear skies today over the Mackenzie River Delta. More moisture clouds back to the west. Low pressure right here just south of the Alaska Peninsula, big upper level low as well. And again, that pulling the moisture, more of it trying to get up into Kodiak Island, some of that trying to spread up into the southern Kenai Peninsula as well. And then some breaks there from the Alaska Peninsula to about Unalaska area. And then just to the west, a good band of northwest winds carrying clouds and showers down, gusts possibly as high as 35 miles an hour in some areas there, but really out over the open water, coming back up west of the Pribilofs, with that area slowly sliding eastward, breaking out for AKwx this afternoon, and then moisture on the increase there out over the far western Aleutians near Shemya. And rolling that by again, you can see that front from yesterday really washing out as it pushes in across the southeast coast, with just a little bit of moisture there in the clouds, and something of a break extending up along the North Gulf Coast, a few breaks in the overcast there, and then another mass of clouds coming on up from the south. They'll be rotating on up later tonight. Today we had one trough right up along the coastline there with the showers, and again weakening as it pushes across the Panhandle. Isolated thunderstorms really haven't gotten going over the eastern interior. Looked like it was mostly kind of northwest of Anchorage there to the Alaska Range and possibly Denali area, but that last time I looked, they're pretty isolated in that one area there, with some scattered showers farther to the south. Showers along the southeast side of the Aleutian Range, east and southeast sides there, down the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, but you can see some clearing here over the Bristol Bay area, on out across the western Alaska Peninsula, almost to the Pribilofs, but not quite reaching it, left in the clouds out in that area. And then this band of showers riding in on those northwest winds there, coming southeastward there just west of Nikolsky, with a couple of low pressure centers, both at about 1,004 millibars, one to the south, another one holding back up here to the north. And then in the interior, that old front that came southward yesterday and last night, kind of a trough axis right through here, and that's good for some rainfall today and showers. Thunderstorms, as I mentioned, back to the northwest, really haven't fired up like they had over the last couple of days, but possible here over the eastern interior, just some isolated ones. And then the trough weakenings that comes across the southeast coast. Still pretty windy up along the western Arctic coast today, but just get south of Point Ley there, or south of Cape Lisburne, and very light winds all the way through the Bering Sea here. Really no gradient at all except for this zone out here. And the next front poised to move into the western Aleutians. That'll edge in a little closer tonight, so we'll see a gradual increase in the winds, and definitely probably going IFR with the lower ceilings and visibilities, rain, fog, and drizzle out there for Shimei and Attu. Breaking out, not too bad, not as bad there. West-northwesterlies into the central Aleutians, pretty light, and again holding on to some possible clearing here for this evening and throughout the night tonight for the Fox Islands there and the Alaska Peninsula. Kind of a cloudy, areas of clouds, light winds, low clouds, fog, areas IFR here for the Bering Sea, all the way up to the Bering Strait. This area of moisture coming back to the southwest, working westward from the east, and then that'll keep a pretty good chance of precipitation, light precipitation there for St. Lawrence Island, back across the Seward Peninsula, and then eastward there right through the interior again, all the way to the border, dry and cooler to the north of that trough, with the most clearing up there except for the eastern Arctic coast. And south of the mountains, kind of a scattered shower condition, mostly over the mountainous terrain, but moisture here, again, that continued southeast flow, keeping it damp at times, unsettled, cloudy for the North Gulf Coast, Cordova, back into Portage, western Prince William Sound, right on down to Kodiak. Moisture of this system will be linking up with what's left over, so going back into a general rainfall pattern tonight there, and less in the way of shower activity now for the Panhandle, but still a few off the coast there that'll be drifting on in throughout the night tonight and into tomorrow. Out west, higher pressure building up over the central Aleutians ahead of that next system, and you can see almost gale force winds going for 30 knots come into the far western Aleutians, with rain not quite making it to Adak, maybe a few scattered showers there to the central Aleutians, otherwise dry here over the Bering Sea, except for a narrow band of moisture coming southeastward and then southward there in the form of showers, fog, rain, drizzle, but pretty light here, staying west of the Pribilofs the way it looks at this point in time. So you possibly might get some clearing, kind of an optimistic forecast there, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians again. Otherwise, areas of fog mixed in out there as well. And then some thunderstorms here along and south of this trough axis this evening, possible anywhere along there. No big outbreak expected. More in the way of showers. Some of those could be moderate at times, so still looking at precipitation here. This whole area is coming southward, and it'll begin to actually push south of the Alaska Range into the Copper River Basin later on tonight. Chance of showers develop down across the Talkeetnas and into the Chugach there, southern Kenai Peninsula. Rain, mostly southern Kodiak Island with this system really not making much of a jog to the north at all, and kind of sliding eastward there. That leaves just scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies for the Gulf of Alaska. And it looks like the best chance of showers will remain tomorrow over the central and northern Panhandle. And for Tuesday, that front, it's not really a strong front here. Pretty, especially not much of a wind producer at all, but that'll bring a chance of rain, occasional light rain, mostly to the outer coastline there, with conditions drier, a little more showery, scattering out over toward the border. But again, not much in the way of any wind associated with that, and still have that trough here over the southeast interior now, a little farther to the south. So mostly cloudy, partly and mostly cloudy. Afternoon, scattered thunderstorms over the mountainous terrain or showers, even the Kenai Peninsula, and then this little back to the west, a little more widespread area of convection going on out there, with thunderstorms possible along the Alaska Range, showers southward across Iliamna and King Salmon, possibly Dillingham, but not too bad back along the coast with low clouds, partial clearing, fog through the northern Bering Sea, mostly sunny from roughly the Tanana Valley northward to the Arctic coast and North Slope areas, with some fog around the central coast there possible, but really not too bad. And the eastern Bering, again, light winds, low clouds and fog down to the eastern Aleutians. And then that front pushing some small craft advisory winds in toward Adak and Atka, with periods of rain from Atka westward to Shemya, where the winds will diminish on the south side of the front. So looking at the temperatures today for the southeast coast, mostly in the upper 40s to mid 50s, although Stewart pushed up to 61, 48 at Cordova, and a 60-degree reading at Homer. Same thing at Gulkana, upper 50s in the Susitna Valley with 58 at Kenai. And in the Tanana Valley, upper 40s there to lower 50s, 52 at Fairbanks, but 64 over at Eagle, 66 at Fort Yukon, and upper 50s for the McGrath area, and lower 60s there for the Kuskokwim Valley, or for the Yukon Delta, and upper 60s there for Fort Yukon. Eastern Arctic coast highs or afternoon temperatures in the mid to upper 30s, with 50s, mid to upper 50s into the central interior, 54-degree reading at Nome, and 58 at Kotzebue, upper 50s out along the southwest coast, and the Bering Sea, mid to upper 40s there for the Pribilofs, lower 50s for the Alaska Peninsula, 40s out in the Aleutians. Lows for tonight, near 50 there over the western interior areas here, west coast areas with mid to upper 40s there over the Bristol Bay area, coolest up along the north slope in the Arctic coast with upper 20s, and upper 40s there for the southeast coast. And for the highs for tomorrow, back 60s to near 70, warmest now up over the northwestern valleys with 70 degrees possible for Ambler, 30s out along the Arctic coast, 50s to the south. Flying weather shows IFR here, the Bering Strait down along the coast and along the eastern Arctic coast with a band of marginal VFR through the central interior, more marginal conditions for the Panhandle and the Gulf of Alaska. And for the flying the next day, or for the afternoon, not much change in that pattern. Anaktuvik passes looking good, Anaktuvik and Adigan open. Lake Clark marginal or VFR becoming marginal in the day, and rainy same pattern. IFR becoming marginal though for windy, and Isabel marginal VFR, Mentesta marginal, Tanita VFR becoming marginal. Portage marginal VFR, eastern approach, Chilkoot and White marginal. Freezing levels, upper level high pulling back to the northwest there with 8,000 feet, cooler 4,000 foot freezing levels to the south. Icing here through the central interior southward, above about 7,000 feet, mixed variety, above about 5,000 for the Panhandle. Upper level wind flow chart, upper high sliding eastward a little bit there. Main jet well to the south, 9,000 foot winds. Pretty light over the interior, 20 to 30 knots along the Arctic coast. Westerly at 10 to 15 for the Panhandle. And out west, maybe up to 40 knots coming in towards Shemya. And for turbulence, occasional areas of moderate chop possible up there along the Arctic coast. Otherwise, pretty smooth over just about all of Alaska, including the Panhandle, with a little more turbulence coming in out west. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Each year, millions of outdoor enthusiasts get a jump start on the boating season. For fishermen, hikers, campers, and other recreationists, the first few days of spring-like weather are the signal that it's time to launch their boats on a favorite lake, stream, or river. Whether a canoe, a john boat, skiff, cart hopper, or other small craft, these boaters tend to think more about the size of the fish in the lake than about being safe boaters. And all too often, this all-too-casual approach can lead to tragic consequences. After a long winter, it was exactly the kind of day that Jake McDermott and Rudy Bellows were waiting for. A chance to get back out on the lake, break out the rods and a few beers, maybe even catch a fish or two. Jake McDermott, 43, father of two, the service manager at a local car dealer. His high school friend and fishing partner, Rudy Bellows, a 35-year-old bachelor and a sales manager for an auto parts distributor. Around noon, they paddled out toward the middle of the lake to try their luck at a favorite spot. The air was warming up, but the water temperature was still around 50 degrees. Jake knew the fish held close to the submerged tree and ended up snagging his lure on one of the branches. One last good tug, and he might pull it free. According to Bellows' statement to the police, when Jake first fell in, he didn't think it was a serious situation. But after a few seconds, he realized that his friend was floundering and needed help, fast. But when he lost his balance and fell in, he told us he was immediately disoriented and could barely stay afloat. In the end, it was all he could do to save himself.
Jake McDermott drowned just a few yards from his capsized boat in about 8 feet of water. A tragic accident? Of course, they always are. But a freak accident? Far from it. In fact, everything about Jake McDermott's drowning, from where it happened to what caused it, is typical of the vast majority of fatal boating accidents that happen every year. If that sounds surprising, well, that's part of the problem. You see, contrary to popular belief, the typical accident doesn't involve a large offshore boat floundering in high seas and gale force winds. The circumstances in which most fatal accidents occur are far less dramatic. Instead of big water, the typical accident happens inland, on lakes and rivers, the small ponds and streams. And in more cases than not, it's the non-traditional boater who's involved. Fishermen, hunters, campers, people who are likely to be on the water in the spring or the fall months. And usually it's small boats, 16 feet or less, either with no motor or one of 10 horsepower or less. Almost half of all boating fatalities happen in broad daylight and in flat, calm conditions. And most of the time, the boat isn't even underway. Thanks, Jim. Of course, no two boating accidents are exactly alike, but in all too many cases, the common denominator is alcohol. In fact, 60% of all boating deaths are somehow alcohol-related. Part of the problem is that drinking while boating is almost a tradition. The one item you can bet will be on board is a cooler full of beer. But when out in a boat, the alcohol in just 2 or 3 drinks can significantly affect your balance, your vision, your judgment, and your ability to react quickly in case of an emergency. And don't for a minute fall for the myth that beer or wine is any less intoxicating than hard liquor. A can of beer or a glass of wine contain the same amount of alcohol as a shot of whiskey. It doesn't take much alcohol to affect your coordination, and even the slightest sense of unsteadiness can transform small boats like these into highly unstable and dangerous platforms. Under no circumstances should a boat be overloaded or overpowered, and a small boat is no place to stand up. If you have to change positions, keep a low profile and keep your weight centered toward the middle of the boat. Falling out of a boat is always an embarrassing and very often an unpleasant experience. But for the boater who's been drinking, an unexpected plunge could prove deadly. It may be hard to believe, but the inebriated person whose head is underwater can become so disoriented as to swim downward to their death rather than to the surface and safety. You know, the real tragedy of practically every boating-related drowning is that it could have been easily prevented. Wearing a personal flotation device, a PFD, is by far the single most important safety measure you can take when boating. It's a point we've been stressing for years and one that simply cannot be overemphasized. Look at it this way. Virtually every single boating-related drowning could be eliminated if the victim had been wearing a PFD.
It's a time of the year when most boats have long since been hauled out of the water. But for more than 2 million waterfowlers in North America, it's the start of their boating season. Some may use a duck boat to head out to a water blind. For others, their boat may be nothing more than a dinghy used to set out decoys. In either case, These boaters operate in one of the most hostile boating environments of all, near freezing water.
Welcome back. Looking at the sea ice analysis. About the only thing left, or the only ice left in the Bering Sea is on the north side of St. Lawrence Island, and that's not much at all. Otherwise, really opening up here, sea ice-free waters and open all the way up to the north there with the shore fast along the western Arctic coast continuing to break up and break loose and melt away. And also now some open water being analyzed here from the Mackenzie River Delta, or Mackenzie Bay, back to the west here in just east of Kaktovik. And for the marine forecast, light winds continue for the Panhandle, 10 to 15 knots from the southwest tomorrow, a little more southerly but quite light on the north coast. Lynn Canal just going for 20 knots now, northern Lynn Canal in the afternoon, seas 4 feet, light variable winds for the remainder of the inside waters all the way down toward Dixon Entrance. And for Tuesday, southerly winds at 15 for Lynn Canal, otherwise southeast, a little more discernible direction there for the central and southern inside waters. Clarence Strait, 15 knots from the southeast. South 15 to 20 on the south coast. So a little bit of a pickup in the wind, but not too bad at all. No small craft advisories, seas staying under 8 feet. And for Prince William Sound, light variable winds both tonight and tomorrow again. Light variable winds in the forecast also for the North Gulf Coast, 10 knots, 5 to 6 foot seas. Then things become easterly there for the Barren Islands at 15. Northeast, 15 to 20 knots here, Kodiak Island, strongest Shelikof Strait, going light and variable there for the Kachemak Bay area. Cook Inlet tomorrow, southwest, 15 knots with seas at 3 feet. Outlook for Tuesday, those winds go southerly, same speed, 15 knots, and then southeast 15 for Kachemak Bay. Now we've got light variable winds in the Shelikof Strait zone with seas at about 2 feet. East side of Kodiak Island there, we've got northeast at 15, and then easterly winds at 15 knots here from the Barren Islands eastward there across the North Gulf Coast. And for Bristol Bay tomorrow, light westerly winds at 10 knots, northwest 15 here coming across the Alaska Peninsula. And that wind pattern extends all the way up to towards Sitkinak northwest, but small craft advisories here from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev due to those 8-foot seas. And then for Tuesday, westerlies up to 20 knots there for Bristol Bay. Seas only coming up to about 4 feet though. And otherwise northwest, the Alaska Peninsula 15 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet. So lose the small craft advisories there on the Pacific side with light variable winds now from Castle Cape to Sitkinak. And the Aleutians, Unalaska Island, variable at 10 tomorrow. And then picking up westerly, that northwest wind really weakening that as it progresses eastward, just west of 20 there from Nikolsky, and then falling back toward the central Aleutians to 15 knots, swinging around with that next system coming in from the west, picking up to 30 knots. That's going to be mostly west of Kiska Island on out to Shimi and Attu. For the Tuesday outlook, we've got kind of a general increase in the winds, pretty good here, especially for the central Aleutians. Easterlies 30 knots, extending westward, falling back to 25 towards Shemya, and then winds east, but only up to 15 knots there for Unalaska Island, picking up to 20 knots as you head west. And for the southwest coast, we've got a really light breeze going tomorrow with westerlies turning northwest at 10 knots there, south of Nunivak Island. Pribilof, St. George, St. Paul, up to St. Matthew Island. In fact, all of the northern Bering Sea, light variable winds at 10 knots, seas just 3 feet, a little bit of a westerly drift there for St. Lawrence Island with slight seas. And then on Tuesday, swinging it around to the north, but only coming up to 15 knots, southwest coast, northwesterlies at 15, with 2 to 3 foot seas, and the Pribilofs looking up, or staying light and variable again, with seas only forecast at 2 feet, and for St. Matthew Island, south 15 with 3 foot seas. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, 20 knots out of the east there, extend to the central coast. Still carry some small craft advisories, east 25 there for the west side with 6 foot seas, turning northeast and dropping a little bit there, swinging around to the northwest here for the Chukchi Sea, probably going westerly as you get in toward Kotzebue Sound, which may possibly pick back up to about 20 knots. And then the outlook for Tuesday is for west winds at 15 there coming into the Sound. Otherwise, pretty light easterly winds there from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort. Still holding on to the small craft advisory for the west side, western Arctic coast, dropping back to 15 to 20 knots from the central coast eastward. And for tonight again, not too bad weather-wise up there, just some IFR due to low clouds and fog. I wouldn't look at much in the way of any precipitation at all. Otherwise, dry down to the Brooks Range and southward. This area of moisture, showers, rain, the whole trough sliding southward over the next 12 hours or so. This moisture coming back up into Kodiak Island, increasing the chances of rain once again. And mostly cloudy, a chance of some showers to the southeast coast, nothing heavy, but showers off the coast will be rolling in later tonight and into tomorrow, but nothing organized at all. Light winds, low clouds, fog, drizzle over the Bering Sea, fair in the western interior. Next front pushing in toward the western Aleutians, increasing the chance of rain and a little bit of an increase in the wind, at least making it go southeast tonight. Stronger winds coming in tomorrow with those 30-knot winds west of Kiska Island, and rain advancing to about Amchitka Island there. Otherwise, the Bering Sea, not much going on, just kind of a train of moisture, narrow band there coming southward from St. Lawrence Island off the Seward Peninsula, hopefully staying west of the Pribilofs. Clearing possible anywhere, but low clouds and fog more likely though, except for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. Dry for the Kuskokwim Delta into Bristol Bay, and a chance of rain southern Kodiak Island. This area of moisture again sliding southward, so that's going to be coming down the Alaska Range and into the Copper River Basin with better chance of some rainfall. Showers over the northern Panhandle. Next day, lots of sunshine central interior out to the Arctic coast. Showers this low in the southwest.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.